episode 10. And just for you, Kemi, all right. It means
that's really unprofessional. You're reading off the phone.
Like, business. Something is already set in motion and will continue until it reaches completion. Although there are still things that can be added to it.
That's what number. What's that number? What did you get that
10.
from?
What does number 10 mean? Angel number 10.
Nice.
What does number 10 mean? Didn't you just put 10 numerology?
Yes, it comes up.
Nah, see, I got
Look,
different things.
I like business. But it's still good, right?
Yeah.
But as I normally say, blessed and highly favoured. And as our guest, Shari.
No, let's start it properly, innit? Let's start the thing properly, innit? Yeah,
But
because...
anyway, she pointed out that we're in the 10th month, so that's double whammy.
Yeah.
Boom, bang.
And it's Black History Month.
Boom, bang.
But Black Art Story Month, I call it.
Black Art Story. Okay, yeah.
Art Story. But now, hold on. So if everybody knows, goes back to episode 1. Is it episode 1?
What are you referring to?
So back to episode 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, one of the episodes, isn't it? So we're basically having a big argument about you got a bedroom that has, because obviously the name in it. We had the argument with the name in it, like, you get me? So obviously, you know, I wanted our baby to be a Shari. She's like, there's already a Shari. I said, there's not a Shari out there. There's not one.
Of course there is.
Not of that you know.
Okay, but don't say there ain't.
But I said River's gonna be like a celebrity name, like a Kim Kardashian thing. That's what I can see it, is it? It's gonna happen. And so I was like, nah. She's like, you've already got a friend. Her name's Shari. I said, who? You're brethren, innit? What brethren? And we're arguing back and forth. I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about, innit? But nah, in the end, it was Daryl. It was, you know.
Darren.
Shari.
Yeah.
Shari, not Ashari. Shari.
Okay, I know this now.
Well, now we know, innit? I just want to get that clear because
Alright.
just in case you want to go back. Hold tight, my haters. Gotta big up the haters. Just gotta big up the haters again.
Whatever.
I know I like to big up the haters. Big up the haters, big up the people and all that thing. I have to big up the haters.
Yeah. Anyone wishing bad mind, it should return back to sender.
Back to sender. No, we're here. It's Black History Month, so we're trying to. No,
I don't really think for all of that.
Don't
but
be like
you know
that,
what?
man.
If you want to jump on that bandwagon, feel free. Black Lives Matter.
White Lives Matter, Kanye West,
gosh.
Mike Donny. Don't know what he's playing at, but anyway. But now we're here with Shari
Leigh.
from the. Now she got obviously you're gonna introduce yourself in it,
Yes.
and you've got your own little foundation and big thing. And because we're on this black thing, give me. We just thought, we had a good, great conversation the other day, and then now you made it to the Forbes. Is it
Yeah.
Forbes.
Yeah.
Forbes
Forbes.com,
article
yeah.
looking all good, and I was like, what? Yeah, big boy article. So we just want to big you up at the same time, to see what you're about in terms of the business and that kind of thing. So introduce yourself, you get me? And who's this young little one? Who's this little one?
It's a celebrity, eh? This celebrity. That's it. The celebrity that always had a similar name to mine.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm Shari. I run an organisation called Black Business Network, and we basically focus on support resources, research insights, and networking for Black entrepreneurs to help them on their journey.
So it's right down our lane kind of thing. What made you want to set up? Come on now, this is this.
Okay.
It's black everything. Why do you want to do black?
Oh my
Until we
God.
see no colour, there always be war. Why is there black? This, that, and the other. Like why you want to do that? Like, let's start from the beginning. Like
Should we start from the beginning?
like what you're into like beforehand before you go into it.
So yeah, exactly. So I used to do corporate events basically. So I worked for a lot of like the banks and the financial institutions, and I'd run their conferences and different kind of networking events for them. And I kind of firstly noticed that we weren't really present at these types of things. And I get it because, you know, there would be some Black people would be sent by their workplaces, but it's not really, there wasn't really visibility for Black people or scope for just the average kind of business owner or entrepreneur to kind of come along to it. So I thought, you know what, I want to take the knowledge that I had, which was organising events, and apply it to what I felt passionate about, which was the community really. And that was around the first kind of wave of like Black Lives Matter happening. So like when Trayvon Martin was happening around 2018, and I was just so frustrated like every day. And I remember when the Alton Sterling thing happened, and they, you know, we saw the footage of him like in the petrol station. And I remember I was sitting at my grandparents' house at the time, and they showed a video on the news, like, and I couldn't believe it. And it brought a tear to my granddad's eye. And that really like struck me, because I don't really see my granddad cry like that or anything like that. But seeing that man get taken down that way, it really like hurt. And I was in an environment, in a corporate environment, where I was surrounded by a lot of ignorant white people constantly. And you know, when you're the only black face on the team and this stuff is happening, they got a million questions for you. So
what do you mean? Break that down. Like, what do you mean ignorant? Like, because they weren't aware, they were aware of it or not aware of it. Did you have that conversation?
Oh man, when I was
trying to justify.
Yeah, basically. So when I was at that particular company at that time, it was just the team itself was, I would say, outright racist. Really, it was a team of all white men, and one white woman. And I remember again, like one of my first trips, like it was great. It was the job I'd always hoped for. You know, I was in a big corporate position. I was getting to travel around the world because all the events were global. And like our first trip, we were in Dubai, and this team turns around to me after we've done the event successful, you know, everyone's sitting down having a drink now. And my manager goes to me, so I've got this Chinese friend who hates black people because she thinks they've never contributed nothing to the world.
Oh Lord, have mercy,
straight into my face like that, you know.
No, I didn't just. No, it must have had a coffee or something.
We was over drinks, so we were like in the evening, like over, but like I was just like,
I have a Chinese friend.
Yeah, this is what he says to me. So, and then everyone else, basically, all the other guys that were there, chime in like, yeah, what is it with this? So then all the questions start coming at me. Why do black people name their children certain things? How come you guys don't speak proper English? So I'm like trying to justify and defend all
what,
these
you didn't uppercut and blow and talking and
I was honestly, I was so like shocked and flabbergasted, taken aback. I just didn't know what to think or what to do. And after that, it was when I was like, do you know what? Number one, I need to get out of this situation, because it was just making me unhappy. I felt uncomfortable. The Black Lives Matter thing was on top of it.
That's at the same time.
It was all around the same time this was happening.
Okay,
so
okay,
it
that's
was like, yeah, do you know what I mean? So at the time, honestly, my mental health was like, it was just suffering, because, and what I found at that time is that I didn't know as much as I wanted to know about black history, you know? They were like asking me things like, what have black people ever done? And obviously there's things I could like answer, but generally I couldn't list, like now I could list you like a million different, you know, black inventors and things like that. But at the time, I didn't really have that knowledge like that. So while I was passionate about the community, I didn't have the knowledge to be able to really fight back for those kind of conversations. So that's when really I've just started expanding my mind, learning more about our history, learning more about all our accomplishments and the things we've achieved, and then also connecting with other people that I knew. So I had other friends who I was working in Canary Wharf at the time. So I had other friends that had worked in that area, and they were dealing with similar situations within their companies as well. And we were all frustrated. So what I did is start a little group. So we used to meet in Clapham Library every week. And we would just like talk about, okay, cool, how can we change the situation? Because we're sick and tired of everything that's happening. We want to make a move. And I was a massive fan after I started learning of Claude Anderson and his Powernomics. And obviously he says in that, you know, the groundwork first begins with business. So for our community to really thrive, business, we need to get our business in order. Then we can move up to media. Then we can move up to policy and politics.
Is it, sorry to cut you.
No, go for it.
Is it, cause I know I love Claude. Big up Claude. Before we even do the business, ain't there something before that?
What?
Like mind and like the like,
it was all of that.
Or is it literally something that we need to start with, would you say, to...
Well, I think, definitely it's, you have to learn, you have to understand, you have to get to know that basis that I started, which was just learning about our basic history, the things we had achieved, and being able to kind of build that confidence. And I think I'd always kind of had the confidence like that. to kind of go out there. I've always been a very independent person in the way that I move anyway. So I've always kind of, when I've put my mind to something, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I had that bit there, but there was still that part lacking. And honestly, even though I started that group, we started doing work, we realised that business was the foundation, I didn't actually start Black Business Network for about two or three more years after that.
Imagine, so it's just like this seed was just literally. So that's when people worry about like, oh, I'm gonna start now. Not all the time. It works that way. Yeah.
No, it was only 2018, and then I lost my gran, and that really motivated me, because that was then I was like, what kind of legacy am I creating now, and why am I sitting here on my hands and just kind of waiting for things to happen when I have this in mind? And so honestly, that was it was like one of the hardest periods for me. But mentally, it motivated me in a different kind of way that I can't even explain, really. It was like, oh my God. It made me realise just how quick life can go. And seeing what my gran had been able to achieve in her life, in the sense of what she'd been able to put away for her children, the massive risks she had taken in even coming here as a single woman, you know, bringing her kids up here and all that kind of stuff. It made me think, why am I waiting when I need to just be out there doing? And that's really what was the final push in me actually starting the business and getting it off the ground.
That's can I ask, at the age of 9, what did you actually want to be though?
Oh my gosh, do you know what I wanted to be?
Yeah, go on.
I wanted to be Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act. No lie. I used to tell people that I wanted to be. Really? I wanted to be a nun because I was so obsessed with the movie Sister Act at the time.
1, 2, was there 3?
There was a 1 and 2 definitely, but I think at the time, definitely I used to watch 1 all the time. I was obsessed with the movie and the singing. Yeah, I think it was more the performing, really. That's what I was drawn to.
You're more Grease, innit? You're more Grease, innit?
Did you love Grease?
Like Grease.
I loved Grease as
Dirty
well.
Dancing.
Yeah, I loved all the musicals, Dirty Dancing, all of
them.
that. But a Sister Act at that time was like, it was just the one for me. I was obsessed.
No, I just had to. Did you? So you say this is your? Would you say this is your? Because I talk to a lot of young people, and I've got just most of the time when I go into classes, the first thing I ask them is like, why do you think you're here on earth, innit?
Yeah. Because
most of the time they don't know, they're just literally just walking zombies, and they don't know, they're just like going day by day. They don't even question why they go to school. They're just literally like, oh, I'm going into school. Like, do you know why you're going to school though?
Yeah.
There's no point just going because your mum tells you, your system tells you. Like, understand the system and understand it isn't. But did you find, has your purpose changed over time, or have you you discovered it now?
No, I was very much like that. Like, I was very much, you know, I always wanted to do well for my mum and for my gran. Like, that was definitely how I grew up, you know, in the sense of I wanted to achieve. I always had this sense of like, they'd sacrificed so much for me, so I'm going to do what I needed to do. So, you know, always kept my head down, never got into no trouble, went to school.
Not nothing. You like Shan?
Honestly, I was like that little kid girl.
No bang and that, nothing.
My sister was the one that was like, she was, you know, I used to admire her so much because she would always just go out there and has always just been herself. But I used to toe the line, like, when I was younger. And even I would say right up until like me getting that job in Canary Wharf, for my gran, that was the height of success for her. You know, she was so proud when mommy, Chagana, Canary Wharf, she had traveled. She used to. I
can imagine one of them ones, you know, you're on bus and it's like, you know, Mike, you know, my granddaughter, that building over there, so.
That's exactly how she used to feel.
Everybody.
So, oh my God, she used to love it. It was the height of professionalism, and it was only really when I got there and I got in that environment now, and I started facing the racism, the snide comments, just dealing with it, and I thought, this is not making me happy. This is not what I want.
How long were you there?
I worked at that particular company for about 2.5 years. I think I was there. I'd been doing events in other companies, and I was probably about like 6 years into my career at that point. So I'd been working, and then went to that company, and literally it was like the height, you know, I was going to travel and I was going to do all those things. So I was excited, but getting in there, the realisation changed, man.
Is there other black people in there?
There were black people within the whole organisation, because it was one of these big companies that was like, 800, 900 people working in the company. But within my team, which was about 10 people, I was the only black person, and I was one of 2 women. The rest of them were all white men.
And the person that employed you, did you still work with them or see them?
So not after that. Not
mad, isn't it?
Do you know what's mad? Actually, so the person that employed me was the same man that basically challenged me and asked me that question, right?
Wow.
And you know how I actually got a job is that when I started my first events job, he was the manager there. And then left maybe after 6 months. So then when I was going out and applying and stuff like that, he obviously knew me, so he hired me into this company. So for him, I don't think he ever saw it as a thing of I don't like this particular person. He genuinely thought that was an okay thing to ask me, and it was appropriate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after I left there, actually a few years later, I was at a different company. And he actually joined that company too. The events industry, especially corporate events, is quite small. So you did get people kind of moving around, especially when you're in the financial sector as well.
Okay.
So he actually ended up joining that company. And then by that time, like I said, my gran, that's when she passed, 2018, when I was at that company. And then after that, I started the business, and then I started moving around from there really. But my purpose definitely changed, and during that period, I'd say from being in that terrible company, realizing I was unhappy, focusing more on my mental health, started working through the Ayana books and all those kind of things. That's when I really started to understand and get into what my purpose was. And then I realized actually my purpose has always been within the community. That's always been my heart. By nature, I'm a campaigner. I'm someone that always likes to advocate for others and speak up for other people. And I was just passionate about everything that was happening to us. So yeah, that's really where I discovered my purpose.
That's mad. So you start. So you set up that. Alright. So this is the madness now. So you left. It's the catch-22, isn't it?
So when you handed in your resignation, did they try to?
Oh no! What at the racist company or the? Oh man, no. Do you know what? Again, it came to a head because, like I said, these people are so annoying. And there's one particular manager on the team. We were of the same age, but he had been at the company literally since he graduated uni. So he'd been there a long time. Ignorant little whatever, not you get me. Exactly. And I remember we were actually in Dubai, so we used to go to Dubai quite a lot to do events and stuff like that. And it was just me, him, and one other guy who I was actually cool with. And me and him just catch up at an event, really. We just caught up at this event. I had to tell him some words, you know what I mean? And he basically ends up leaving. We're all meant to go to the airport together at the end of the thing. He ends up just leaving. And then I come back. I tried to speak to my female manager at the time. And she was just oh, well, you know what he's like, brushing it off. And I thought, no, I'm not doing this no more. And that's when I just started applying. And really, I think it was one of the first jobs that I applied for, went for the interview, and I got a role. And I mean, they were all oh, you're so good, we're sad to lose you. And the rest of the team, there were some nice guys on there. I can't say all of them were terrible. There were definitely some nice guys in there, and they were sad to see me go as well. But that guy, honestly, from him, he knew why I was leaving. Okay. And I think we were both happy that we weren't going to have to see each other again. That's it.
So did he write in your leaving card?
Oh yeah, he was a phony like that. He was so phony. I should have known from the first day anyway. The first day I started there, this Egypt comes up to me and says, Wagwan. I said,
oh god.
What? He was, yeah.
You know what I mean, man?
Yeah, one of those ones, oh my gosh.
But you have to do the hands as well, innit?
Wagwan, idiot.
You have to do the hands.
He was a real idiot, I should have
But
known
imagine
from
though,
then.
you've just come from the high of the high, yeah?
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying you're up there now because you're big.
No, but from grandma's perspective.
Yeah, there you go. So you. But this is where people are caught. Some people are caught in that mix, and it's good. And from a female perspective, black female perspective as well. Yes, baby. Yeah. Yo. Do you mind? Yeah. Have some respect. She's gone. Yeah, you know what it is? The you've come from this perspective, and there's people stuck in certain. I've been in the corporate as well, so I can understand. You're used to the money, the traveling, the boom. you can see the glass ceiling and you can see what's going on and boom, 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 but you're still part of the system, you're still part of the makeup, but you got a bare new thing to do something different that's talking to you inside. How did you, what kind of, because it's your mental health and stability as well.
Yeah.
Making that transition, how easy was it?
How easy was it?
Or hard was it? Because you had the parsonage with grandma was
that's it. So like I left that racist company and went to work in another company, and actually it was cool. Like my manager, she was a really lovely Asian lady. Actually, we were similar in age. I got a lot more respect in terms of what I was able to do. I moved up the ranks and was running a team and stuff like that. So actually I was good, but what I realized is I was working crazy hours then. So that's when like I would be in the office till like 11 o'clock on just a rant every day, like really like up to events and stuff like that. You know, I'd be working till late, and those times my gran would call me and she'd say, oh, you know, Ducky, how you doing? I ain't seen you, because I couldn't get up there as often anymore. And I think literally I remember this day so clearly that she went into hospital because it was quite sudden how she went. And I was at work and my sister called me and she said, oh, grandma's in hospital, you have to come down. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to come. It was like maybe about 4 o'clock. And I'm thinking, all right, am I going to leave the office or should I just wait until the end of the day? And something in my spirit just said, you know what, just go now. So I got up and I was just telling my manager, look, I got to go, my gran's in hospital. She's like, fine. So I just left out, went straight down there. And I think basically after that, I was just not in a good space. I had to take time off of work. I went back straight away initially, but I was just not in a good place. I needed to grieve. So I ended up taking some time out, and that's really in that time that I was like, all right, cool, what am I going to do? Is this what I want to do? Understanding my purpose better. And then from there, basically, did I start the business yet? I think I went back. I started the company and I was slowly working on it. My goal was I'm going to just create an event. Yeah. I was just going to create an event. So it wasn't even what the business is now. I was just planning to create an event that spoke to Black business owners. So I started working on that low key, and really I think by the end of the year, that 2018 is when I realised I was just too burnt out. I couldn't be doing both of this. And I was burnt out from being in that company as well. So I thought, do you know what, I'm going to move to more contracting roles. So that's how I started doing it.
To make it easier.
Yeah, exactly. So basically I left there and then I started picking up like 6 months or a year little contracts and stuff like that. Still doing events and doing what I did, but it just took the pressure off and it allowed me to be able to kind of develop the business at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. So although it was a bold leap, it was still a transition.
Oh yeah,
smooth. Sounded more smooth because people panic and you don't just walk out. Obviously, I walked out of my job, but it wasn't like that. It was literally still a smooth transition, still working, boom, 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 to the point of where I knew I could. Yo, stop! She's snoring now.
That's getting ready
for that, man.
Daddy's girl, boy. That part, anyway.
Snoring fight. Oh my god!
I've got videos, you know. I'll put it. Set the video now.
I'm not the only one that records these things, you know, because I had to record too. The other day, I had to record. It was too loud. I'm sorry. Keeping me up all night to record.
We're gonna show that clip right now, joking. No. The transition is important.
Yeah.
And
you don't want to be stressing. You want it to be messy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But sometimes enough is enough. Sometimes.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Enough is enough.
And I think it's good to like draw a line and say, cool, if something is too much, especially people who are working in corporate, I would just say to them, like, honestly, don't sacrifice your mental health for the sake of it. If a company is too much, then leave and find something that better suits you. And I think that's what I had to do.
Would you go back to a 9 to 5?
But it wasn't even 9 to 5, was it?
Yeah, I would never go back to working how I was working before. So even after I started taking contract roles, I made sure there were ones where I wasn't going to be doing all these long, ridiculous hours and taking on as much as I'd been taking on. But no, I mean, the goal now is obviously to stay free, stay working, stay focused on what I feel
free enough. That's like a Russell, what's his name? Russell Brand thing.
Yeah.
Stay free, stay open. That's it, people. But nah, this is so the website's very neat. It's tidy.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
I was trying to find faults in it. So I've done it yesterday. I was like, nah, this must be
Oh,
something
he was
here.
like,
We were
"There's
down
only
a little bit
women.
yesterday.
Yeah,
Only women
looking on the
the-"
team thing, I'm like, why is no man on the team?
Oh, yeah, we are all
Yeah,
black
go on,
women
yeah,
at the
that's
moment.
black women.
All right, so
Yeah.
with that black, because there's some organisations that put people under that umbrella.
Mhm.
So if an Asian person wanted to sign up, would they come under?
Do you know what? I mean,
yeah, the BAME thing, innit? The BAME.
yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I do that. Network's an open network, so people can just kind of sign up on there as well.
So anybody, white people can be on there.
I mean, yeah, they could. We don't screen people at the moment and stuff like that. As we kind of move to being more of a kind of privatized network, then we will. But what we say is that really we are black-led, black-focused, and that's our primary goal. But we are open to allies and people who have things to offer.
Okay.
And that's what we find. Sometimes not all the resources that we need are solely within the community. And that means, you know, sometimes you go to other people who are expertise. So if you are someone that is showing a genuine commitment and interest into helping diverse entrepreneurs, and I meet some people all the time, like one of the organizations we work closely with is called MSD UK. And they are all about like minority supplier diversity. They've got black.
Not a tick box thing. No,
No,
I just want to help black people. I feel so guilty.
No, they're the actual organisation. They've been running for about 20 years.
Whoa.
And it's run by an Indian man. He started it 20 years ago to get like more diversity in supplier contracts and things like that. And they reached out to me and was like, hey, like, you know, what are you doing? Because we want to make sure we're bringing in black businesses as well into what we're doing and making sure it's, you know, truly representative. And if something like that, I'm always open to, you know, because for me, it's about finding as many avenues and as many opportunities as possible for black entrepreneurs and presenting it to them. And if someone is, you know, doing their thing, I can't fault the man. He's been doing the thing for 20 years, you know, working.
So why only females on your team, like black females?
Oh, do you know what? It's just the way it works out. I can't help that. The women, when they come on, they get to work, man. I can't. That's how it falls. So really, I mean, the team is. I started the company, started working. My best friend, who's like a now co-founder, she looked at me. She's like, "Nah, you're gonna need some help." So she actually came on board first and started helping from an operational side of the business and just kind of managing all the back end stuff. And she was obviously a godsend. And then slowly we kind of grown. It was us two just doing everything at first through the first event, the first big conference that we had, and that. And then later on, I think about maybe 2 years ago now, we met Shai, who's our digital brand manager. And Shai reached out to me on LinkedIn and was just like, hey, love what you're doing. This is what we do. Can we connect? Can we link in? And, you know, it was just, we met, talked, started working. It was just a great fit. So she became a massive part of our team and what we do. And then same on with our kind of like assistant REA, Huey, and yeah, you know, we just kind of, it just worked out that it's women. But we do have some great guys that also kind of support in the background of what we're doing as well. We work closely with Ace of Jacks.
But big up my Donnies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're probably like the closest men in terms of working with us as a team. But yeah, I can't help it. When the women come on, man, it's like that.
I don't know why. It's like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our black females are just on it.
What's that movie coming out?
Woman King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I can't. They just come on and they just
King,
get to work.
Doesn't make sense. Make it make sense.
Yeah, but I like that too, man.
Women King. That's weird. No, with so alright, we're entrepreneurs, black entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Alright, so we got stumbled on the website. Oh my gosh, black business network. Alright, cool. What happens next? What is it? What's the
we would
portal?
say basically create a profile on there. Make sure you put in your industry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When we have opportunities that filter into us, like so if you see we've got a support hub page, those are the people we class as our partners. So they're all different organizations, some who are diverse focused, some who are black led, some who are just business organizations. and they will filter all their kind of opportunities, events, anything like that they've got going on. Funding is always a big thing.
Yeah.
So we're tied into quite a few different funding networks, in VC companies, angel networks, and things like that. So we'll always try to link people in where we can and support them.
That's a lot though, isn't it?
It is, but we are working on streamlining it as well now. So we're always developing, we're always growing. As I said, we started as just an events company, and now we've kind of branched into being able to kind of provide a bit more support and the opportunities. And really now, based on our research that we've been doing, we're going to be building a proper kind of pipeline to streamline the process for people, so that you get all the emails. And
now you partnered with big boy Lloyds. Is
Yeah.
it TSB? What is it? Lloyds, isn't it?
They are Lloyds so TSB is part of it. Royal Bank of Scotland. I always get confused whether it's Bank of Scotland or RBS. The two. There's Bank of Scotland and there's Royal Bank of Scotland.
RBS is Royal Bank of Scotland.
But I think I'm always convinced because one of them is owned by NatWest.
This ain't the Chase thing, though.
Look at me.
You always feel like you're on Chase, like Chase. If you're looking for a contender, she's dying to come on there.
I'm not dying.
Do you know what though? I mean, we could talk about how teething that it is afterwards, the chase though. Because,
you think it's teething?
Yeah, because when it's in the pot, if you can't catch the whole pot, you once you bank money and it goes into the kitty, that money should get split as far as I'm concerned. It shouldn't be.
It does, don't it?
But only if you beat the chaser.
Oh yeah. Of course.
I think once it's banked in there, you should be split, man. That's enough. That's it.
But
Like, we answered the question. We've answered the questions, man. That's it. Split. But
yeah. So you got the Lloyds. So you got
because funding is an issue with black businesses.
Exactly. So Lloyds really that came about just in 2020. So obviously 2020 hit and the world shut down. We were like, okay, what's going to be our next steps? Because obviously we were an events company at that time and no events were happening. We literally managed to get in one
Zoom
event.
Events.
Yeah, we did. We got in one event just as we were going into lockdown,
Wow.
right? Literally the week before, we'd done a Black Women in Business
Serious?
event. Yeah, we'd done a Black Women in Business event in the beginning of March. And then I remember loads of people were like, oh, I can't make it anymore. We had suppliers dropping out because it was coming. But obviously no one really knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then literally that week, I think where I was doing a contract at the time, they said to me, oh, right, we're going to close the office now. So everyone's working from home. And then I think literally within a day of that, the whole country went into lockdown.
Man, like boys.
Yeah, so it was like, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? We had our big conference obviously scheduled for November again. So we were planning to just shift that online and stuff, but we wasn't sure what it was going to mean for us. But we started getting so much attention because George Floyd happened. And now everybody was all of a sudden interested in what was happening for black people. What was happening for black business.
So could just break that down. I've always been curious about that. Because Black Lives Matter, if all of a sudden everything's about what can we do quickly? So they just Googled you quickly.
Just jumped on to the.
Because you're top of Google. So if you put in Black Business Network, you come up straight away.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, our name, I didn't even realise how much of an SEO blessing it was going to be. But our name was obviously one of the first things that come up when people Google black business. But a lot of corporate companies were now like, all right, cool, what can we do? How can we actually support this? There's clearly a need for, us to branch out in terms of diversity. So we had a few companies just reaching out to us going, oh, we was looking for stuff on black business, but we couldn't really find it. We only found you guys. So I was like, all right, cool. What's your plans? What are you planning to do? And out of everybody, really, Lloyds for us presented the most authentic plan, we felt. They had a 3-year plan. They had it was what they called their race action plan, and it was spread out across a number of things. So they were looking internally about their own systems. They were looking at their ethnicity pay gap, and they wanted to look at what was happening in the business community as well as kind of supplier diversity. So we like that they were tackling it from different angles, and that they made a commitment to do it for 3 years. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first sat down with the big boss,
Where, swear down.
Yeah, we had a meeting with the big boss.
With the £600 shoes and that.
Well, and you know what? She was so open. She listened to everything we had to say, so we just ran it back like, look, this is the situation. This is what people telling us. This is the issues. And this is what we wanted to do, which was we wanted to do the research, actually. We wanted to do that. So we said, this is what we want to do. And she was just like, yeah. And she was like, and we've got the money. That's what she said it to me in the meeting. She was like, and we got the money to spend. So I knew then, okay, they're not playing about. They're not playing about. They were ready to put their money where their mouth was in terms of making changes and impacting everything. So we were like, all right, cool, 3 years, you know, a minimum of 3 year commitment, and they want to spend the money and they want to do the work on different fields. So that conversation really was like, okay, let's go with Lloyds. Let's do what we want to do. And we started from there, really, started working with them. So first they came on, they sponsored our event, and then they kind of commissioned us to do the research report, which was great. It helped us get set up with a research company that could kind of help us with the more technical sides that we didn't know. So we started working with Savannah Research and assigned an in-house team as well that supported us on it too. So yeah, the research has become a bit of a collaborative effort, but is obviously led by us, is written by us, and is our kind of us getting the voice of the community and being able to feed that back to in a way that like actual banks can really listen to and understand and use the information, you know.
No, but it's the way you've attacked it. Like it's like a question of trust. Why Britain's banks are failing to attract back entrepreneurs? I was like, fire. Again, what's the response been on that? Like, have you been on Twitter? Like, you know that Pete, because Twitter's quite.
Oh man, see, because this is our second year. So the first year of the research, I was so shook, honestly.
Why?
Because I know the feeling, what it tends to be when you come to the community and you talk to them, number one, about research or.
Because imagine in the corporate world, now you're going back to the community, but I'm trying to work for you lot, but you don't want to work. It's weird, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. So there's always that like back and forth. A little bit before ours, that the government published that Sewell report, Tony Sewell report, in which they said racism, there was no racism in Britain. So literally people were not some Egypt thing. So people were like apprehensive, I think, at that time as to what research really meant. But when we came out, it was the voice of the people. It was what we published, what the people said to us. So it was honest and it was open and it was raw, you know, and it was that they don't go to banks, we don't trust them. So our first year was really about highlighting what the main barriers were for Black entrepreneurs. And it was around access to funding, lack of trust, being able to overcome those barriers. And then also, you know, where we found pride and inspiration as a community as well, and looking at those things. So that was this first year. And then this year we've really gone into how those decisions and those barriers impact us and our journey. And from that, basically, we've been able to really streamline the pipeline and the journey for Black entrepreneurs from start right up into mid-sized business, work out exactly where things are happening, and now we can start building all the programs alongside it. Last year, we published 10 recommendations, and that's what Lloyds took, and they have done so many different programs. Like they've invested like 300,000 hours into it, and they've helped, I think, like well over 6,000 businesses, Black businesses, in the last year through the different programs based on the recommendations that we put out there. So it's been able to have massive impact, and they work with other organisations. They brought in a lot of grassroots organisations, Mentor Black Business, Jammy Marketplaces, Foundervine, who are massive partners. Shout out to Foundervine because they really, really do their thing as well. But yeah, so they started collaborating with lots of people based on the recommendations, and we've been able to guide a lot of the work that they're doing, and we're seeing the like tangible outputs of it. So it's great.
Already, you know.
Yeah, that's it. And that was just year one. So now we're getting ready. This is year 2 report, and now we're moving forward, and we've got 5 solid actions. And
they are.
So obviously is to continue to work on the recommendations. We fed that back. Everybody is happy with the recommendations. So that was the first thing we checked in this year's report, that they felt we had the right ones, and everyone felt that was the right direction. 2 is really, we recognize that we made a start, but there's a load more to be done. And it's not going to be done in just 3 years, right? We're talking about years, hundreds of years of systemic oppression, and you know, these institutions operate in a certain manner. So we know now we have to try and start tackling systemic barriers, and that really comes into the credit processes, how finance applications are actually looked at as a whole. But for us to do that, we need to be able to tackle it on a much bigger level than Lloyds. And that means we need policymakers, so we need to include government, and we need to include all the banks. I know.
They're not even about that. They're in there.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's up and down. They are.
But there is an incentive there, though.
What do you mean?
I mean, we know that black economies, like literally, even that Forbes report, it said like
we're the biggest consumers,
and not just consumers. It's worth like if across they look at it in that report, they've actually used the MSD UK report numbers, which includes Asian business owners, but it's 75 billion to the economy if we're all doing well as business owners, right? That's how much we contribute as business owners, and that is worth something to these policymakers. Do you know what I mean? And so, they are actually interested. So we've had some little conversations. We work really closely with an amazing lady called Diana Crouch. Diana Crouch is a black lady who's been killing it. She runs an organisation called the All Party Parliamentary Group.
What's the most surprising finding you got from the research that you thought, oh my diddy days?
This year, really, when we started looking at the impact, the thing that shocked me the most was the difference in turnover. So because we don't really trust banks and we tend to raise just within our community ourselves and self-fund, on average we're starting our businesses, we're raising about £2,000, which is really minor when you're thinking about trying to set up a long-term business and stuff like that. It means that we're not creating proper growth strategies, we're not hiring in people who have expertise to do certain things, we haven't got no marketing budget. And the effects we see is basically that black business owners or black solopreneurs, so people who start their businesses by themselves, are turning over less than half of what UK average is. So the UK average solopreneur is turning over somewhere in the region of £72,000. Black solopreneurs are turning over like £20,000. And so it's like a massive
but then
difference.
Is that because I think we had a conversation. No, it could be the type of business, but also can sometimes. I don't know if it's a black
She's about to say something. She's about to say something.
Thing where they don't declare as much.
Oh yeah,
no,
that's a good
I don't
point.
think
The barbers and that, that's.
I think because
only.
This is based on what we're talking about in the research. So again, this is people just telling us in the survey and speaking directly to us.
Okay.
So I would say, I think based on our sample group and the black entrepreneurs we spoke with, I genuinely think that's the truth. That's the truth of what it is.
Because turnover, that's not even profit.
Yeah, exactly. And we're hiring stuff. And what we saw is even as our businesses get bigger, right? Like, I remember at one point we've got a lady on the team, a white lady called Kathy, who's in the research team. And we saw what people who had like 9 staff members, for example, their turnover, which again is like 20, even when you grow and get to the biggest sides of our businesses, we're still 25% less than the UK average in turnover. But I remember we looked at when the numbers came through, she was like, how is that even possible? They've got 9 members of staff. She's like, it can't be right. So we had to run the numbers again, double check it.
Run it again.
Yeah, literally, because it was like, how is it even possible that they're employing these 9 up to 9 staff, like between 5 to 9 members of staff, and they're not. But what we found is that people are obviously still working full-time alongside. They're running their businesses to like subsidize what they're doing. And when we're talking about employees, it's not necessarily always full-time employees. It's more like contractors and people people that are coming in to do bits and help them with it. But I mean, it's just ridiculous.
The average,
like again, I think when it came to like people with 5 to 9 employees, the average turnover is somewhere in the region of 500k a year, and we were at like 100 something k a year. So it was just like a massive difference.
How big is this job? Like you start something. Like I've always gone to jobs here and I say, Shan, I'll be back in a bit in it. No, actually I don't say that no more. I usually go, I'm just gonna go and fix a door or do something or whatever it is I'm doing.
Ringing, like,
it could be even a show. like you start off, even though anything I do, you go there and you think, light works, man, I know what I've got to do. But when you get there, it's like, oh my diddy days, you know what, babe, you ain't gonna see me till tomorrow, like, or whatever kind of thing. How big, when you're in it now, how big is the situation that we've got for black businesses?
I mean, there's a lot of work to be done still, a lot. And that's one of the things, like I said, this year we really have realised that it goes beyond just us working with Lloyds Bank and stuff like that. You know, and I remember sitting down having again a conversation with one of the senior members there about it, and we were both like, well, really, we could be doing this for like 10 years easily. Like the work we're doing now and trying to get done, we could be doing this for the next 10 years, because this is hundreds of years of systemic practices. Do you know what I mean? And things like that. It's just not going to be an overnight thing. It's not even going to be a 3-year solution. So definitely got into it, starting thinking, all right, cool, we want to make impact, we want to make change, but then realised, really, we need to, for us to see the big changes that black people want to see, and for it not to be just like the diversity tick box thing, we need to start tackling this on a systemic level, and that's going to take a good, couple of years of investment and stuff. But
so you're saying you have to go, because there's 2 ways to look at it. I did go that way before, where I was like, yeah, we need to work my way up and then start to change it from the top and then go down. But I thought, nah, it ain't working. Let me work from here and build up. I don't know which way, but now which way do we? Or is it
both really? Like, because the thing is, it's not all for us to do. Like, as black people, it's not all for us to do. We didn't create these systems. We're not responsible for these systems, right? So it's not all for us to do. So it has to also start from the top, which means the policy makers, the people that we don't want to work
business
with.
About that. They don't
but
care
we have to make them business.
There's more pressure there.
This is the thing, and one of the things I said, like with Lloyds, really, I said, when people were like, again, what are they going to do for us? Blah blah blah. Their business. I said, ultimately, we still put our money in the bank. Right, regardless of what we say, we're still using those facilities, and they're still benefiting off us putting our money in those banks. So why should they not be working for us as well? They absolutely it's
corporate responsibility.
They have to be exactly. They have to be working for us too. We put our money in just like everybody else, so we can't. We have to use their systems to a certain extent, right? With banking and things like that. But then we kind of opt out when we say, okay, but we need more from you. Like, we need you guys to do more. And I understand the frustrations and why we choose to opt out. But I guess that's part of why I'm here to say, no, we're not opting out. Like, we're taking what is owed to us and what's due, and we're going to make it work. And we're going to make sure that you guys are doing what you need to be doing for black people. And that's basically one of the major steps of taking this year, is getting involved with the APPG, as I was saying, and getting involved, like getting all the banks involved, really. So it's great. When we had our launch, we had participation. We've got links into a lot of the big, like, high street banks, and they're all kind of ready. And most importantly, we're talking with people like UK Finance, who are like the regulators for all the banks here, and talking about what we could start doing in terms of making real changes.
So where do you do like most of your advertising or promoting?
So for me, really, because I guess our network is like I said, it's an open network, so that's just a kind of part of it. And really, so we do a lot of promotion through socials. We're always on Instagram, and then obviously we do a lot on LinkedIn. I find LinkedIn is a really great resource. It was a great resource in just starting the business up and reaching out to people. And then now we do a lot of kind of marketing and advertising through LinkedIn and stuff, and just through email campaigns in our network. But in terms of like the corporate kind of clients that we've got, like Lloyds and other things, it's really been actually sending emails out, getting in contact, building relationships. And that's why actually networking is so important, and why we continue to do events, because it's invaluable for entrepreneurs when you actually get into spaces and are able to kind of meet people. And they're great people in loads of different organizations. Like, we also work with Bloomberg, and again, there's a fantastic lady there called Sonia Meggie. And Sonia, she's a bad gal. And she really does, like, she advocates and does what she needs to as well. So being able to meet those type of people and build those relationships is really how we kind of continue to.
What have you come up against mostly in terms of, is it Are you finding the community be as the hardest to get like our own people? Who what have you come up against the most that you thought, why am I? Let me just stop doing this thing, innit? Long this, innit? Or have you not ever gone in that mode?
Do you know what I found is it's not the community as a whole, but the hardest blockers for us has actually been once I got into this space of working in diversity and encountering other so-called, you know, black people who work in diversity and finding that actually not all of them have our best interests in heart. And actually those...
Near man shame.
I'm not
Come on, who is it, fam?
I'm not
Because
naming
it's too
them.
many. You know what it is? It's too many of them. Like, I know it's a bad thing, innit? But I always, you know, like...
So
you
what,
know
they've got what, selfish ambition?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what it is. And I think I find that a lot of people, they're not necessarily doing it for, like me, I do it for the love of the people. That's what keeps me going actually, now we need to do this work, we need to get organized, and that's what I'm here to try and help us do. But I mean, well, on one hand it's like I can't fault no one. You got to pay your bills, you got to make money and all that kind of stuff, but then on the other hand it's
if
like
your heart's
they
not fully in it,
yeah, they say one thing, they portray themselves as one thing, and they're not necessarily actually working for
And these are the people that you naturally would connect with anyway, because you're doing a similar kind of thing.
Exactly. And they're black people in the industry, you know, that we would look up to and say, oh, that person's doing something. And I mean, I found that their intentions have not been as great.
I think because you mentioned in regards to like the George Floyd and the lockdown, because it feels so long ago.
Yeah,
but it's not, you know.
I know it's not, but it really feels like way back then that we went through that. But a lot of businesses were born through that time. But then if you go to all the ones that linked with that whole Black Lives Matter, a lot of that weren't really about... It was just people just seeing
jumping on the bandwagon.
Basically.
I think the biggest issue is that really as a community we're not organised. There is no real visibility of what our community leaders are doing and what their long-term plans are. So we've really tried to lay it out this year in the research, like what our goals is, what we're currently working on, what we've done so far, and where we want to get to, because I honestly think that's part of it. We need to show the community that we do have a plan, and that we're making the steps and working towards that plan. And I think that in itself helps people to go, okay, well, I can get with this, or I can say nothing. And I think that's the problem, is that as a community, there's no general organisation. Even with the Black Lives Matter thing, for example, I mean, I don't know them. They're not an organisation I worked with. To me, I guess their focus is, you know, police brutality and working in that, which is a massive, massive important part. Our focus is business. So we've not necessarily crossed lives like that, but paths like that. But what I do find is that I genuinely didn't really know what they were doing, you know. And I remember one of the most confusing moments really was when we were like in lockdown, I think it was, and all the protesters happened. And then next thing you know, there was a protest, I think at Heathrow or something like that. I don't know if you remember that on the news.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing where they was like, oh, they've shut down Heathrow Airport and talking about it's Black Lives Matter. I was like, who are these people? I looked at and I just saw a whole load of white faces. I was like, who's actually running this thing? Who's running it?
Or anyone could put up a placard.
Yeah.
I remember there was a guy, some white drunkard guy in Peckham, and he stopped the buses and all sorts. He just laid on the ground, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
I thought, how embarrassing.
Yeah.
And
The man has to do his bit, innit? You know the ones that I feel guilty.
Yeah, that's
after
it.
he had a few tenants.
I do think that, and that's what I mean. I think there are probably like genuine white allies and people like that who want to do something, but there's no real organisation or direction or leadership within our community. So people don't know what to do, and anyone can jump on it and say Black Lives Matter and whatever. Do you know what I mean? There's just no real organisation. I think that's the main thing we sometimes lack as a community. It's just
divide and conquer. Right?
Exactly.
So you imagine though, so you're like 102 years old, and you're looking back at your life, innit?
Yes.
And you know, you see your baby there. I don't know what would you like to look back and say, look, man, I did that, you know?
Oh man,
If you could don't mind me answering.
I would love to be able to just kind of look back and really just say like I helped us really shift the dial basically. So obviously my first goal is, you know, tackling this whole access to finance. So I want to put out a proper racial code, ethnic racial code of practice for business and conduct. And
What does that look like? So what's that? Like everybody's
So-
following that. That's a deep one.
Yeah, so I don't know if
It's like a
people
man code,
know.
like, you know that man them have that
Well,
code,
actually, there was a women's code, and that's kind of similar. So back in when Theresa May was in power, she
Hold
commissioned.
tap my Donny. You know that's my Donny.
What, Theresa?
yeah. Chandler, but I like. No, Teresa, I like. You know what it is? You know what it is? Because the way she stood up against all them guys.
Oh, yeah,
and
she's-
the way
yeah, she
she's
held
strong.
on
The way she had to
as
get
long
up
as she
every
could.
morning and wear a new outfit
She
and
was
just.
definitely better than what we got now.
Yeah. No, hold that trust as well. Like,
Don't
this
trust.
But like I
Yeah, go
will
on,
say,
sorry.
so when she was in power, she actually commissioned a woman called Alison Rose to write the Rose Review.
Yeah.
So the Rose Review basically created the Women's Code. And the Women's Code was a set of guidelines and rules for all banks and UK finance and policy makers to engage women and invest in them to support them into business.
Okay.
And since then, they've seen a 25% growth. No, she's all right.
Got an event coming up.
So we have what we got coming up. We've just launched a report, and then we're back with our conference.
Stop making noise. Are
But
you
we
alright?
will have hello.
So
You're
with this-
tired? You're hungry now. That's probably it, isn't it? You're hungry now.
This ain't mine.
That's it. She looked around
Don't
twice,
like
and she saw it wasn't the right one.
Matty.
She can see.
She can. She can smell it as well, innit? Like she knows that they ain't got
Yeah.
no milk. They know milk in that.
That's what it is, isn't it?
Gee.
Oh, you will go to mummy now. All right.
I can see her head just
Twisted,
twisted.
yeah, moving, looking for it. Yeah. Oh, look, now you're back in the right place.
Face.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
What was I saying? So, yes.
The next event.
Next event, right? So, yeah, we'll have our conference again back next year, our finance conference that we do. But we're going to have a networking event in December as well.
Ooh, okay.
And
December the what? December the what?
we haven't actually finalised the date, but we will have it out soon. We're just working on all the details now. And we really want to do something celebrating black businesses in the arts. So we work we work with a great lady, or we connected with a great lady who runs a black owned ballet studio. So we really love to work with her. We've connected with people who run art collections and things like that. So we really want to do something highlighting what's happening in the arts. And we also know, again, when it comes to investments and grants in that particular area, there's even less being done. The Arts Council for England have got a lot to do in terms of diversity and investment into those things as well. So we want to use this December event as a little bit of a celebration
But
for
other
us.
businesses can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
it'll be a great
interesting.
time to just network and just relax, celebrate. Like we've come into the end of 1 year, and then also kind of spotlight those people that are doing great things in the arts
I was
too.
thinking Carla.
Yeah, Carla Cornwall. Big up Carla. I also have to show you the artwork. It's mad.
Oh really?
Yeah. She does
See.
a lot of expeditions and that. But nah, it's been a blessing you coming down. It's been thank you for coming down.
Thanks for having
Obviously,
me.
I'll do some random questions for no reason.
Yeah.
Just like fire some questions. Alright, so favorite
Alright.
color?
Yellow.
Yellow.
Oh,
eh?
Yeah,
lovely.
yellow.
Bright
Bright
blue,
colour. It was my
spring.
grand's favourite as well, so I love it. I've got bright yellow room. I usually am always wearing yellow, but lately not.
Alright, so a profession that you wouldn't like to do.
Oh gosh, profession that I wouldn't like to do.
Fishmongers.
I
Oh,
wouldn't be an
that's-
undertaker. I
I wouldn't want to be a firefighter either.
Say down.
No,
Got a
no.
thing for fire.
I'm not trying to run into no fire. I'm not trying to do that.
What's the time of the saving cats? Change
Yeah,
the smoke alarms and that. Mind it. Helping people out of lifts.
I bet a fireman would find it very disrespectful.
Well,
Sorry.
but I know it is part of the regiment. But yeah, I know the main
Changing
thing.
fire alarms.
Yeah, but they do change fire alarms though. They do though.
Oh wow.
That was the whole thing.
That's it. I mean, they help people. I think it's a great job to do, but it wouldn't be for me because I'm not set up that way to run into the fire.
Alright, a profession you'd like to try. They've always thought, I'd like to try that. Except for the nun.
Okay. No, I mean, I'd love to. I wish I was more of a performer. I wish I could sing. Honestly, I wish I could
You and Shad
sing.
start a group together.
I wish if I could sing. Honestly, I wish I could. Like
Like, can you hear yourself singing and think, I cannot sing? Or do you think in your head, I can sing?
I think I can hold a know, you know. I think I'm not
Me
too
too.
bad. Like I'm not too bad. And I always say one day I'm definitely gonna write a hit one day. Even if I don't sing it, I'm gonna write a
Confession to
hit.
that. Alright, a sound you love.
A sound that I love.
Mm.
Oh man, I love this. It sounds weird, but I actually love the sound of coming out of Brixton Station.
No way.
Yeah, I do, because that's how you know. Listen, when you come out of
You're
Brixton
home.
Station, you can hear people. There's one man that's telling you about the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Right.
a next Rasta man that's shouting "Bun Babylon." There is like people selling things and stuff. And my dad was had a market stall in Brixton for 20 years, right? So that's like growing
What
up.
food?
He used to sell music in Brixton, right
Oh,
outside
yeah.
the rec centre, yeah, for 20 years. And and obviously when music started getting digital and stuff like that, that's when he retired. But I guess it just feels like home to me.
The sound of what sound do you love? What sound do you love?
Gosh.
Mine is the when it's raining, motorway, and they're going fast, and the windscreen wipers.
Oh yeah,
I actually like that.
that's
sound.
relaxing. Isn't
That
it?
is relaxing, but I like to hear the rain when I'm indoors, like
Yeah.
snuggled on a sofa and it's just hitting against the window.
Nice.
But, gosh, I don't know. That's such a thingy question. Like, wow.
Is it
Just answer them. Just answer them. All
I
answer
know,
them. You're the only one that
I'm
delaying the
I'm
thing.
even surprised by her answer. Like, wow, that
Sound
actually
of
came
it.
to
Yeah,
my mind.
exactly.
Of your snoring, soothing me to sleep every night.
Let's talk about worse sounds, right? The man them snoring in the night time.
No, I think you know what it
Oh
is.
my
I
God.
think you women are the worst for it. I swear to God, Shan's the worst
No,
for it.
I'm a light sleeper as well. So
Proper
it's
lad,
really
proper
driving me
lawnmower,
insane.
proper
You're
lawnmower,
talking
petrol,
cat.
diesel.
You're talking cat. My mum, maybe, not
No.
me.
This week, Darren has had a cold as well this
Oh.
week. So
It's all up there.
I told you I had to literally take out the phone and record it this week because
And I can imagine. I done it as well. Remember, I done it as well. Done that.
just like, I was
3 o'clock in the morning.
literally.
This is when I was carrying this one.
Yes,
Yeah, that was
okay.
bad. It was bad.
No, and I
really.
like the sound of the sea.
Oh yeah, that's a nice sound as well. The sea like washing onto the sand, shore
Like,
and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
just.
That's
Alright, so a sound you don't like.
it's the snoring.
Snoring, yeah.
The snoring is too much. That's at the moment.
Dogs barking.
You don't like dogs barking?
It's like no, when they're like constantly like just. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
You
to
must
say,
be in
yeah.
Jamaica. You got pure dogs
Yeah.
just barking in the yard. They
I have to
don't
say
know
anything that incites violence I don't like.
Mm.
The sound that
what- Oh
don't
god, you
incite-
sound a bit poppy fairy.
What do you mean?
Like anything that.
No, I don't like you see that gun. I don't like. I
Oh,
don't like.
like
they're
what,
like-
like half the movies
Anything that
you
makes you feel
watch.
like you got to run.
No, if you naturally hear if you hear one pop off, like in the movies, it's fake. You can see
Yeah.
it's not real. But if you hear one actually pop off, like when I've been in a club, one time,
Oh, no, I
yeah,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That- that-
Yeah, no, I don't like the sound of like screams.
Yeah, panic.
Like
Yeah,
like
that's a good one.
proper.
that's good. All right, so cool. And your not. You said your favorite music then. So your favorite artist music.
Oh, my favourite artist. I mean, I've got two favourites, I have to say. So Jill Scott
Okay.
and Beyonce. I'm a massive Beyonce fan.
You're Beyonce.
Yeah, yeah.
Even with the new album.
I love the new album.
I'm a church girl. Whatever.
I
You're
love
right.
it. I love it. I love it. Church Girl's my least favourite on there, but I think just as a whole, I actually love the album because it's got lots of like 70s and 80s type
I ain't
sounds
listened
as
to it.
well.
Listen to it. I ain't listened
Do you know what?
to
I've listened to songs via Instagram Reels.
Yeah, oh yeah, because everyone's got it on
Everyone's got
there.
it on the thing, but I haven't actually listened. But I'm not really into. Like, don't want if you buy me a ticket, I'll go watch her in concert.
it. Oh, is it?
But
No.
I ain't spending my money.
Oh man, I would. I'm a massive. I really rate her. I can't lie. I'm that person. So I love Beyonce and I love
Cheers.
Jill Scott.
No, that's calm. It's a good.
I love like
Kind of
Neo
mix.
Soul, so
Yeah.
Jill Scott is definitely in my.
No, thank you. No, thank you for coming down and that. No,
No, it's fine.
just plug anything else you need to plug out because and
Yeah.
tell people why I go on it because you know what it is. People need to hear certain things sometimes, innit? And especially people that are setting up their business and why should they come to you, Black? Why? What for? What
Yeah,
Black
I
business,
mean,
what for, fam?
listen, there are so many places you should go when you're setting up your business. You need to have support. You can't do it alone. And that's why we exist, really, to kind of help direct you to the people that have all the different resources that you need. So the first thing I would say is go and visit the website, which is blackbusinessnetwork.online. Create a profile account.
Is it
sign
free?
up
Is it
for
free?
mailings. It's completely free.
Don't try it. No, you get to a certain point. It's like
To unlock unlock all the
You want Lloyds TSB?
to unlock
Right
all
now
the
it is.
worthwhile parts. Like,
And the
No,
moment
no.
is, so jump on now. Jump on now,
Right
now.
now, it is completely free and everything's on there. So go and check that out. Sign up to the mailing list because we
We need to
send
do that
out
as well.
things. And we send out different things that are going on. Download the research report. So go to bbibp.report and download the report. And honestly, that's why I'd say like we're trying to we've laid out what our action plan is. And what we're kind of doing and really trying to give people the scope of where we're trying to get to, so that's important. And then also, we run our biggest conference is called Black Investor 360 or Black Investor Finance Festival, and it's all about how to get funding. It's a great place to learn about what type of funding you may need. We set you up with one-to-ones with investors, so check that out, and you can visit that at blackinvestor360.com as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come on now,
Look at
select
that.
the inside book, right?
Look
So
at
you're
that.
doing the outro on that. You want to do the outro
Yeah.
on that?
No, I'm good.
You want to do the outro?
What do I say for that?
Anything, you just say anything. Like, I just normally say
alright.
anything. Just say
Well,
anything.
thank you for joining us, Max and Shan. Thank you for
Blah,
having me. Big them up on the podcast. You can
Come
see
on
the
now.
thing here. It's looking very brilliant, looking great, and we love to see black businesses killing it. Black entrepreneurs doing their thing. So make sure you tune in and like, subscribe, and comment.
And don't dislike, innit?
Yeah.